Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the final presentations for the Generation Rent Product Forge. It's another Product Forge where we're starting on time, which is great. You're going to hear from 7 amazing teams that have been hacking away for the last 3 days and 3 nights, so many of whom have been working here since Thursday evening, which is incredible. So a big round of applause to all our participants, please. So first things first, rather than me describe what happened this weekend, we're going to show you a short video and enjoy.
At Product Forge, we normally run hackathons on bigger, more broad topics such as health or tourism. But here this weekend, we wanted to tackle an issue that's more niche and specific: private renting.
Renting is becoming more long-term. To think you come out of college, buy a house, have a family. People don't live like that anymore.
We all rent, but we've never really thought about how technology can help us.
If you look at the policy, at the regulation, that's moved on a lot over the last 20 years. And management techniques, the way how landlords and tenants interact with each other are still the same. It's paper-based, it's phone-based.
There's something about social justice in this for me. A lot of times the private rented sector is not available to people who need it.
When you are a developer, you focus so much on the final product that you forget that someone else is going to use it. So it's interesting to know how what we are doing is useful.
I'm here to remind participants that there are people at the center of things they're building. How would members of the public benefit from what's being built?
It's good to collaborate, speak to other people and just to hear about other people's ideas and not just be restricted to my own thinking.
So they're all coming at it from different angles, different approaches, all thinking about how data can actually be used effectively to help the sector. It's an exciting place to be.
There's thousands of people that are going to be in the private rented sector for most of their lives. Making people feel secure and happy in their home is a human right.
So another technical first for Product Forge. The video, obviously, we didn't intend it to have that weird kind of 80s effect on it, but it went out fine on the live stream, but not in the room. The teams tonight don't know the order in which they're pitching, so I'm going to need to get the first team up, and the first team, if I can get you around the back, is Happy Rentals. So tonight we have 4 wonderful judges who have come along and given up their Sunday evening to present tonight, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So.
Hello. Hi, I'm Linda Bendel. I have had 20 years working in private rented letting, and I'm not working there anymore, but I'm also on the Shelter Scotland Committee, so big interest in housing and property related matters. Thank you. Good luck, everyone.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Victoria Smith. I'm the Operations Manager for Safe Deposit Scotland. I wish everybody all the best this evening, and I'm really excited to hear what you guys have been up to for the last 3 days.
Hi, I'm Thomas Ashstein. I'm the owner and founder of CityLets, Scotland's first property portal. Very delighted to be here tonight. There's a lot of innovation in this space, and looking forward to seeing the pitches.
Thank you. I'm Adam Lang. I'm from Shelter Scotland. Real pleasure to be here. Private rented sector accounts for an enormous amount of what we do day in, day out, year in, year out. It's the largest demographic of people that come to us for help. So I'm really interested to see what the teams have come up with this weekend, and good luck, everybody.
So while we deal with some last-minute technical issues, I want to pay a special thanks to a number of the mentors and participants who have come along this weekend. In particular, I want to do a shout out for Code the Future, a coding school that runs in Glasgow. They run the volunteer-run coding school and community for refugees and asylum seekers. And a number of the participants who are here today have just graduated in January and couldn't code 6 months ago. So for the judges who are here tonight, a lot of the things you're seeing have literally have just come on the back of that course. So I'm going to let you talk amongst yourselves because I don't know exactly how long this is going to go on, and I'm not very good at ad-libbing for 2 to 3 minutes. So talk amongst yourselves, and we will hear from the first team, which is Happy Rentals, in 1 minute. Or not, right now.
Good evening, my name is Katie Kerr and I run a business in the short-term rental market. And I have experience as a tenant and a landlord. And I started my business about 14 years ago when I separated from my husband. And the reason I went into short there were so many problems to bad tenants, bad agents in the long-term rental market. And I wanted to be able to, if I needed the money, sell the property fast and quickly, and that it would be in a good state of repair. Too often within the long-term rental market, the agents were lazy and expensive, the tenants caused damage, and there was downtime before I could put it back on the rental market. So short-term rental seems good to me, but I can see that the trend in the short-term rental market is not good for communities. It's not a very good thing for a person to say that's in that business, but I think there's also a need to help strengthen the long-term rental market and improve the relationships between tenants and landlords. I think from experience, a lot of first-time tenants don't know how to look after themselves, certainly don't know how to look after property, and they don't know to consider neighbours and the community around about them. And it would be helpful to meet the expectations of the landlords as well as the tenants. There's problems on both sides with landlords and tenants. And there's not pages of notes, this is just a few. So through coming here and working with it, we looked at some of the statistics, and there's 15% of the properties in Scotland are in the long-term private sector rental market, and it's a growing market. Out of deposits that are returned, only 18% get their money back in full, and 61% of the disputes are cleaning-related issues. So we've come up with an app which we will hope will solve a lot of the problems, looking at the inventory, a calendar, chat, and on the home page. It will be an app that's really easy to load. It'd be web-based as well as app-based, but for the landlord to load up the property details, the contact number, the tenancy agreement, due dates for when the rent's due, and the tenant's name, and then are all. If we go to loading the inventory, you pick a room. It's very easy to load, and the landlord will put the information in, pick the kitchen, and then from the kitchen be able to select items, load up, say, a washing machine. When they go online, they can click through to find the information. It'll immediately put in the code, it'll find it for them online, and then they have the opportunity to put the details in manually, but they can also, with the age of the product, the condition, and these are the condition. Just tick the boxes for the condition that it's in and submit it. Once the landlord has loaded the inventory, he can click confirmed on the on. I was looking at the inventory page. They can click confirmed. Back one more. It's been confirmed, and then when the tenant has the inventory, they click their section. They can check through when they move into the property and confirm that they agree with it. They can also add comments to the inventory. there's a chat line. This records if there's a problem. You can send a message directly to the landlord, and it's recorded on a timeline. So if say the washing machine's not working, you can click through to washing machine, highlight the issue. There'll also be on the inventory. There's 3 things that the tenant can click through. The manual is available. There's a quick guide to solving problems, and then straight through to the chat line where they've not been able to resolve the problem. And the landlord can then set a date for someone to come out. It goes into the calendar. It will highlight to the tenant when the maintenance man is coming to sort it, but the calendar will also highlight when it's an up-and-coming flat inspection, gas safety check, etc. Before an up-and-coming flat inspection, they'll get a list of what the landlord is expecting. So after 3 months of moving in, the list will come up of the landlord's coming in a week or a month's time, and he's expecting X, Y, and Z. There's also advice. So a lot of people don't know how to clean the bath, or stop the mold building up in the shower, not to put fat down the. But there's all the advice will be here, and the key features we've listed them here: digital inventory, the chats and reminders, and advice on how to do things. The market in Scotland alone, there are 223,000 landlords in the private sector. If we charge for the app £5 a month, that would generate 133,000 per year, and that's only looking at the market in Scotland. We've looked at the competition, and there are several companies which do inventories, tenant chat, and maintenance, but there's none that combine the 3 together, and they're also quite expensive. The inventory, this is one of the best ones we found, was £20 a month per VAT, and this is the for the maintenance service, £25 per month plus VAT. So we feel there's a great opportunity to bring the 3 together, and these are some of the people that we would speak to help us launch the product. The Scottish Association of Landlords, advice from Shelter, Safe Deposit Scotland. Being in the letting business myself, I have a lot of contacts with letting agents and landlords, but also it's a good opportunity to speak to new landlords coming into the market through mortgage providers and lenders, and accountants that deal with landlords. We've also this is the idea. Well, these are all the things that you can see all at once that we have that the app does for you. I don't know how we're doing time-wise. Are we good? 20 seconds left. Hope you've enjoyed it.
Okay, thank you, Katie and Vikram. And as we do the Q&A, can I get team, and see if you get this, apprentices up? Ian, Khaled and Martin, please. Can I get you to the back of the room with Max?
Do we go?
Hi, thank you very much. That's really interesting. It sounds like a great product. So I'm just wondering what the cost implications are for taking this forward. You talked about the costs for landlords and letting agents, but to actually take this forward?
Well, we did look at sort of a minimum of 8,000 to get started. And yeah.
Is that better? It is now. Just out of curiosity, you mentioned that there wasn't anyone else in the market that's doing this specific thing. Do you think anybody's been swayed against it for any particular reason?
I think there's a lot of merits to that app. I know the inventory space is quite crowded, but you're aware of that already. But it was interesting to see your app going into the advice and the chat side of things, which I think currently is underrepresented in the market. So I think that was two very nice features of the app. Victoria has just asked a question about price. So you think £8,000 with a view to developing a fully functional app with a view to testing the concept in the market?
Yeah, I think that would probably be the cheapest that we could do it for.
Okay, so I was sort of dovetailing that question. My real question is, are you aware of any apps which are generically identical in the sense that they're going after multiple channels, advice, chat and inventory?
No, not aware of any.
Okay, great.
Thank you. I would also say it looked like a really slick presentation, and it looked really excuse me, got a stinking cold. And it looked like something that would be of real value to both parties. I have one question of clarification. You put on £5 a month as an estimated cost, is that right? And would that be, you imagine that being covered by the landlord, and the tenant would subscribe or be added?
The tenant there's no cost to the tenant. The tenant would go on the app as a link for the inventories on there for them, and also the chat. There's no cost to the tenant, it's just the landlord.
Great, thank you. And just one sort of follow-up question. Sorry. Do you think that there would be, what would you see in your work from the weekend as the main barrier to this being taken up? When you were sort of discussing the idea, what did you see as the potential barrier?
I suppose, I mean, I'm a landlord, and those products that are on the market have never come to me, so I don't understand what the problem is in getting out there and projecting that and finding the market. I'm not sure what's happening.
Next up, we have Team Apprentices.
Hey everyone, I am Khalid and this is my friend Ian, and we are Team Apprentices. So who is our user? Low income multiple occupancy accommodation seeker. However, instead of calling this long thing ever and ever, we decided to give him a name. We named him John. John is an 18 years old who wants to be an independent apprentice. However, he couldn't find an affordable flat to rent to start his apprenticeship. So what are we matching? We are specifically trying to match John with other people like John who are looking for suitable multiple occupancy properties. Isn't there something like this already available? Yes. For example, Gumtree. However, they don't match John with other John. They just provide housing for John. So we are quite unique. Why are we addressing this? The reason is because people like John facing so many difficulties. Difficulties like what? Low income, moving to a new place, starting a new life, having no connections. How could we help John? We connect John to properties with room vacancies for tenants that have matching profiles. What do you mean by profile? Gender, age, job, location. Why would we do that? Like, why we sort them by profiles? Because it's very efficient if we have John living with other people like John. Some more ideas that yet need to be implemented, so it's not implemented yet. We could ask parents of John to be his guarantor in case John did not pay the rent. The council could also help with populating the rooms and property data for the service that we made. Social services could be included in managing properties. We could include businesses who want to hire John and they become his guarantor. What we have done so far for the last couple of days, I know the presentation is not nice, but we have done something else. So we created a website that asks for the user profile. When the user basically fills the profile, we try to go and fetch the data from the database, and we match the form with the properties that we have, and we are using API from Zoopla. Is the website yes, however, there is always however, we are not allowed to display a live website in this presentation, so we made a video. I'm feeling really bad because I spent so much time on the website. So this is the website, so this is just the video. So if you say no, it says come back when you have an apprenticeship. And if you say yes, then the profile page will appear. And then you fill the form and you submit it. After you submit the form, you get the matching properties. And then you could sort them by cheapest price, by bedrooms, and highest price. These data are actual data. So if you take any one of them and put it in Google, it's real data. It's from an API. And you could see how many rooms are available and then how many spare rooms. Actually, because it gives you the final price, and then we had to divide it by the number of rooms. So I guess you get the idea. So any questions? Ask my friend.
So thanks, guys. Before we ask questions, can I get Bailey, Adelina, and Johannes from SafeLet up, please, to the back of the room with Max? Thank you.
Hi, thank you very much. That was really interesting. A flat full of Jeans. Thank you. I was wondering, can you be more specific within your area search? So rather than it just being Edinburgh, then could I, if I wanted to look at moving to the city centre or to the south side, or even more specifically down to Morningside, Marchmont, whatever, can it be more area-led?
This prototype was just to develop the concept, and yes, you can be more specific.
Beyond that, you could build it in?
Well, it's just a prototype level to prove a concept of the theory, but yes, we would
build that in.
Be as specific and as tailored as required, as any other property search. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi there, thanks for that. Just what was it that inspired the product? Did somebody experience a similar situation?
Yes. When I came to the UK for the first time, luckily I got a graduate position, and the company provided you with staff house that they put you in for 4 months, and that was good to get you started. And then obviously you faced a whole lot of problems when they kicked you out and get the new sets of tenants in, and the first year is quite when you're learning to stand on your own 2 feet, it's quite challenging, and yeah, you can potential for problems to be exposed is high.
No, that's great. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, I've got a very basic question. I'm not entirely 100% sure on the precise nature of the product. Are you looking effectively to group people together to go after whole flats as opposed to applying for a single room in a flat? Is that there are similar products, I think, on websites like Spare Room, which have led the way in the UK on matching individuals together into groups? Is that the basic market you're going after?
I'm not sure about Spare Room. I would just we know about Gumtree and Airbnb and private rooms.
Yeah.
But if there's another app, then yeah, maybe should have done market research better. But it's just the need is to match profiles together. But also, if you've got the profiles, you can then include council services, and you can identify potentially vulnerable people if it doesn't take a lot to lose a job. And then if you lose a job, you lose your property and you become homeless, and there's a huge cost to councils.
Sure. So in essence, it is about finding like-minded, like-profile people together to make a collective application for a property, as opposed to applying for a single room on yourself.
But the main in terms of like Shelter Scotland and homelessness, we want to have the potential for guarantors to get especially young apprentices the start, because if they can't get the start, they don't get the they don't get the independence, they don't get the training, and
no, sure, absolutely. I was just trying to get clarity on the precise nature of the product. That's great. I mean, there are other sites out doing that, but it doesn't mean it can't be done better. So I wish you well with your app.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. My question was about the size of the market for the app, and I appreciate you've only been at this for the last couple of days, but do you have a sense when you were developing the product of the scale of the market that you were looking to try and tap into with this app?
Yeah, so if we look at somewhere like Glasgow, there are 38,000 people who have applied for social housing. And there's 50,000 people in Glasgow who are on the waiting list for social housing. And if you can build something that matches similar people together and puts them, it can be more efficient, and you can also match people with job opportunities and yeah. So I mean, Glasgow, there's 50,000 people waiting.
Next we have Team SafeLet.
Can I start? Oh. 1 second.
Okay, we need you back to log in.
Now can I start? Okay. Hello, we are Team SafeLet, and there's a problem in the rental industry today. So, what is the problem? Well, there are many problems, so let's just pick one. In the UK, the average landlord spends over 2 weeks per year without any tenants, leading to empty rooms like this one. So how do we solve this problem? Our proposition is a website that connects landlords with short-term tenants. Think Airbnb meets Zoopla, but focused on the landlords. So let's investigate the state of the market. In Scotland, the average landlord has unlet property for 16 days per year. Most landlords make less than 25% of income from the letting industry. In fact, only 8% make more than half of their income this way. Also, at any given time, approximately 5% of landlords have an empty unit. So what does this data say? Firstly, there is a consistent gap in tenancies. But more importantly, renting has potential to be a passive source of income for these landlords. Because so little of their income comes from this, technical difficulties. I got it. There go my notes. So, I'll just improvise. So, there's a consistent gap in tenancies, and renting is renting has the potential to be a passive source of income for these landlords, because they devote so little of their time, they have so little of their income comparatively coming from this source that they should be able to spend a proportional amount of time on it. They shouldn't have to devote all of their attention to this one industry. So I'm going to give you a quick run through of what we have so far. Yes. So imagine you're Stella Stevens, a mother of two, and you only make 25% of your income from renting out one of your properties. You would go through our site, fill out a form, enter all the relevant details, and you would be presented with, I got ahead of myself. First you would fill out the form. Then you would be presented with a list of prospective tenants that would also be on our site who have filled out their own forms, which we did not include in this presentation, but it looks much the same as the previous form. And you would be matched with a prospective tenant that is the right fit for you. Mike's needs. So our demographics that we're targeting for landlords, we're looking for landlords that have frequent or large gaps between tenants, and don't have time to devote to this being a full-time job. That we want them to be able to think more of an investment, of this as more of an investment. Well, okay. And then for no, I'll just finish. Any questions?
For the Q&A, can I get Hervin and Warnock from Fixit, please, to the back of the room?
Hi, thank you very much. I was just looking for a wee bit of clarification, if that's possible.
Yeah.
So I think your research, you were saying that it's an average of about 16 days per year
in
Scotland with unlet properties. So, you know, presumably that's rarely 16 days together at a time. It would be a day here and a day there, or a couple of days here and a couple of days there. So how do you see that working for your target market? Because there would be a lot of, you know, coming and going in very, very short term. We're not even talking short term, maybe just a day.
Yeah, so we're, that might have actually been one of the slides that got taken out. I don't know. I don't remember. But we're specifically looking for people who are looking to stay a day to 2 weeks. That was our range. So 2 weeks would be the maximum, the ideal case where all of the missed days are together. But it's primarily very short-term lets that we're looking for.
Okay, thank you.
Hi there. First of all, very well improvised. Just out of curiosity, is how are the properties and the landlords matched? Is it standard criteria, you know, type of property and geographic location, or is there any further kind of questions that you would ask in there?
So, in addition, so yeah, basically what you asked, what you mentioned, we have a lot of different forms that they can fill out. They can give as much information as they want. But we're specifically looking at their location, where they want a tenant, where they want to rent a place, how big that place, what utilities come with the place. And then because we're actually, Adelina and I in this group are studying artificial intelligence, we have we don't have it yet, but a machine learning algorithm to match automatically. And so we're not necessarily quite sure what goes on under the hood because it does a lot of fancy statistical stuff to mesh it together. I don't think that's a great answer, but that's the answer.
No, that's great. Thank you.
Hi, just to echo Victoria's sentiments, congratulations on a presentation against a couple of technical hitches. Look, I really like the theory of what you're trying to do, the idea of filling voids and ensuring, you know, from a landlord's perspective that no day is an empty day. There are some challenges with this idea. Whilst it is true that a lot of agents are becoming more flexible to engaging in both long and short-term markets, usually it's long-term and short-term might be a month to 3 months. The main reason for that is the very short-term market, the 1 day to 2 week, that sort of duration. There's a lot of work and turnaround and so on and so forth. So generally speaking, long and short-term means classic residential plus maybe a month to 3 months. So I think you have a challenge there. I love the theory of what you're trying to do. It makes perfect sense. But I think you're going to have very significant practical issues in persuading agents to get into that market. Doesn't mean you shouldn't sit down and have a chat with them before you invest further time and energy in this idea. Also, your competitors they're as big and nasty as they get. Have you had any sort of idea as to what kind of money you would need in order to prove the concept in a local market, Edinburgh being probably a great example of a local market for this sort of thing?
So in terms of money, the only thing that we would actually need support on would be the initial advertising. Because
it's a big only. The advertising is very often a very large percentage of any development budget, but yeah.
That's a good question. Do any of you have any idea?
Just a ballpark figure, you know, because you know you put some major brands up there. So if you're going to do this, if you're going to build a product, it needs to be known to the market, and there's a very, very big marketing job of any direct-to-consumer product. So just wondering if you had an idea on the kind of money, as I say, to prove the concept in a local market.
10,000 pounds, is that?
Well, that would be a very local market, but you got it. You know, that would be a start. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. I want to also commend you on the Donald Trump-esque response of, it's not a good answer, but it's the only answer you're getting. I want to see more of that. My question is quite a simple one, and it probably links to the same point that was made there. The main competitor that I see from what you've pitched there really is B&Bs and hotels. Because if you're talking about a day to 2 weeks stays, that's from what I understand what you were saying about the tenants. That's very transient. That's very So how, as expensive as they can be, there's great convenience for the consumer in B&Bs and hotels. You just go on, book in, done, out. The room gets cleaned, turned around, and so on. So, have you given thought to how, from a consumer point of view, you would help this product to stand out or compete alongside the current system that fills that void, which very crudely is sort of bed and breakfasts or hotels?
So the last slide that I skipped because I ran out of time was basically our tenant demographic. And we're not necessarily looking for people who are coming out of the country to stay like or anything like that. We're specifically looking for people who may have been like, for example, evicted, someone who needs a quick place to stay, but while they gather their belongings and are able to rebound. Thank you.
Hello.
And next up, we have Team Fix It.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And we are Fix It team, and I'm one of my friend Harvin, and we are trying to present our project, and we'll focus on the 3 points. Firstly, what's the main common issues that we're facing in the private sectors are facing? What are the solutions for it, and who will benefit from using our apps? So before we go through, we do research by contacting our housing agents and also landlord and also online research, and we found that in Scotland, we found like in maintenance and repair cases are like quite a lot of issues, big issues, and it costs quite a lot of money. And also we found that the communications between the letting agent and the maintenance teams can be improved a lot. So we are thinking to focus on these issues. So we are trying to create an apps which will enable the better communications between maintenance team and the letting agent. So let's see the example first. So at the moment, when we have a tenant wants to report issues, and it will directly go to the letting agent, and they will have to check the maintenance team and their availability, and also if only they're available, they can make an appointment. On the other hand, if they're not available and they have to come back and report to the tenant, so there are some issues, the delays in the communications point. So we are thinking if we can create better solutions, better communications to fill the gap. So we create an app which will enable to communicate better between letting agent and the maintenance team. So this will be the login, for example, and when the tenant will log in and they want to report their issues. So for example, they can choose what's the categories and what kind of issues they have, and also they can take a picture of the issues, and they can send with a message to the maintenance team to the report. So our app will check if the issues is less than 50, or maybe it's a small issues, and it will directly go to the maintenance rather than sending to the letting agent, because the letting agents is very busy. They have other issues to solve with. So rather than taking all the actions by letting agent, the apps will decide the situations. So for example, if it's less than 50, it will go to maintenance team, and maintenance team will contact to the tenant, and they can contact very quickly. And because the reason they have the report, the pictures of what's happening, and the maintenance team can check, oh, this might be small issues and we're in that area, and for example, we can just contact them and make an appointment and fix the problem. So it might be better and fix it quicker. So for example, the maintenance team will get the report, and with the names and address and everything, so, and also their available time, so they can fix it very easily. If it's over 50, then the report will go directly to the agent, and then the agent will contact the maintenance team. After that, the maintenance team will continue with the tenant, and they can fix the problem. So I want to show you, this is the prototype where we can schedule or set the issues. So after solving the problem, the maintenance team can also take the picture of it and report to the letting agent, and they can keep all the full records in the system. And also the tenants can give the feedback, how satisfied they are. So I think, so who will benefit from this project? Mainly the letting agents, because they're really busy, and without needing to contact maintenance team or a tenant, the apps will decide and make decisions. And also it saves a lot of time, so can even solve the problems very quickly. So finally, it's very easy to use, and I hope it's really improve the communications and save time for the letting agent, and the solve problems as well. And because of the they have the pictures of after fixing the problem, they can have better informations. For example, the landlord, they might be very happy for seeing what things are fixed by the letting agent. So they can not only save the problems, but also build trust and better positive relationship between letting agent and also the tenants. Hopefully everybody's happy finally.
Thank you. And can I ask Lucy, Nemo, and Edzali to go to the back of the room from Info Inclusion?
Hi, thank you very much. That was very interesting. There's a couple of things that I was wondering about. I'm only allowed one question. I do have concerns about something going straight to a maintenance team for approval, and bypassing a letting agent in case there was any comeback and it turned out that the landlord refused then because it hadn't been approved, the landlord would refuse to actually, pay for the repair. But I was just really wondering about cost implications of all of this. You haven't really spoken about cost.
I'm sorry. Sorry again, with the cost?
Yeah, just the cost of developing the product, and also who would be, what's anything to do with the pricing.
Okay, for us at the moment, we are just trying to develop this app, and we haven't really decided exactly. But we are thinking to maintain by letting the agents to use first and test it first, and if they are happy with that, and we can get some percentage from that and maintain our website, the apps. Yeah.
And so the letting agent would pay for the app in the long run, or the landlord?
Yeah. Firstly, the letting agent will try to use the apps, and if they like, and they can give us some funding for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, it's a really interesting product, one of which that the problem that you're trying to resolve is one that I've experienced firsthand. I was just wondering, in your diagram, you've got all the jobs basically going to one maintenance company. Would you foresee being able to build in more avenues, more options to send different repairs to different companies?
So in this one, like when the tenants choose the relevant categories, and then that will directly go to that maintenance team. I'm not sure exactly if I...
Yeah, no, that answers the question. So the system picks it up on the way through the process, and it selects the company that you've pre-programmed it for.
Yeah, and also for example, in these letting agents, they have their maintenance team, and so different categories. For example, they have like bath issue, and then that agency has already linked with the maintenance team they are working for, so they would directly go to that maintenance team.
Okay, that's great.
Brilliant. Thank
you. Hi. Okay, so I think you're aiming at a real problem, which is the ability for tenants to feel that they are kept up to date and so on and so forth. That for me is the interesting part. I know there are other processes and apps which allow letting agencies to run and maintain their maintenance processes. I'm not a letting agent, never have been, so I can't speak for that side of your idea. Certainly products which work on trust and transparency and help to manage expectations between tenant, landlord and agent, I think that's a very interesting area at the minute. Managing expectations is a key to dealing or indeed preventing conflict. So your idea is absolutely to be congratulated there. I think the distribution and workflow of maintenance within letting agencies, I think there's some apps out there like FixFlow, which are very well funded and doing very well in the UK and I think abroad as well.
Yeah.
Have you thought about maybe more of a partnership way forward as opposed to trying to do the whole thing? I think half of the wheel here has already been created. I think there's maybe half the wheel, the tenant side of thing, the communication, that perhaps might be worth looking at. Have you any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we are aware of the FlexFlow as well. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, they are working really well, but I think it's quite maybe expensive to use. So, but I think for us it's like pretty not that expensive to use. But for us, if we get opportunity to work with, maybe we can consider about that.
Sure, you can always compete on price, absolutely. Okay, good stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask quite a specific question, if that's okay. The main essence of your pitch is based around the saving time element on the letting agent side. The various flowcharts you showed talked about the crucial point being the too much time is wasted. Can I just try and understand, how did you come into that issue? What sort of research or what had you seen that pointed you towards that being the main problem that you wanted to try and fix?
We contacted one of the letting agent manager, and we talk about what kind of issues do they have. So they have some issues with policy area and also the communications part. And one of the communications part is with the letting agent and also the landlord and also tenant. And sometimes, so because they also mentioned they're really busy and they can't easily go and check the issues right away. So he suggested that if we can create something, the app, with a very easy steps, which can help them like sort out this problem easily, and that to be really beneficial for them. So we really seriously think about that issues, and we came up with this idea.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And then we have info inclusion with Housing Helper.
We're not going forwards. Okay, now we're ready to begin. So, good evening. We are Team Info Inclusion with Housing Helper. I'm Lucy. This is Sam and Nemo. Now, how do you get Scottish housing information out to those who need it the most? Shelter has amazing quality fact sheets about a range of housing issues. But what do you do if you're one of the 20% of adults in Scotland that lack basic digital skills and you can't navigate your website? What if you're one of the quarter who don't have very good literacy, or one of the 1 in 28 with serious literacy difficulties? You might not speak English, might not have much of a support network, and you might not know that help is available at all. These problems tend to cluster together. If you have one, the research says you're likely to have another. You're likely to have fewer qualifications, live in a more deprived area, be unemployed, low-skilled, and have more health problems and disabilities. Our vision is a series of public information portals where anybody, regardless of their ability, can get some clarity and good advice about their housing situation. Let's look at Emma's story. Emma is based on a user case that we have developed through speaking with representatives of Shelter and Safe Deposit Scotland. She's a young school leaver in a low-waged role. She's found a private let on Gumtree. She's paid a deposit, paid up her rent, signed a contract though she hasn't understood all of the technical information in that contract. It's come to time to move out and the landlord had says, there's damage, you're not getting a deposit back. Now, she doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know about the safe deposit scheme. She doesn't know who to ask for help. She comes across Housing Helper in her local church and gives it a go. She tries to give it a go. Yeah, I know. She chooses her language, can watch a short introductory video.
What is your problem? I have nowhere to live. I have a problem with my landlord. There is something wrong with my house or flat. I have a different problem. I have a problem with my landlord. I have a problem with my landlord. I need help talking to my landlord. There is a problem with my deposit. I have been evicted. There is a problem with my deposit. Your landlord must register your deposit in the first 30 days. There are only a few exceptions. Where to get help? Shelter 080880044444 or Citizens Advice Bureau 01312025114.
So there we can see that Emma, whether she can read or not, has been able to navigate through to some information about her deposit. In the introductory video, she'll have been told that she can get a fact sheet with more information. She can print this to take away if she's in a public library, and she can go back to the beginning and start again. Now that's our front-end prototype. This is just a short demonstration of our back-end code, which will let you make these decisions. Hopefully you can read. This is a case of somebody who's homeless from the EU. Oh, no, this is Emma again. And this is the case of being homeless. So we have a backend that's working and a front-end prototype for this. Now, our design process has been quite intensive. We have analysed first the shelter helpline shelter helpline data, so that we've been able to target the most critical problems first. We've developed a UI prototype. We've done that on paper, several iterations of that, and then in Adobe XD. We've also written Python scripts to just kind of prove that we can do this. We have got a lot of advice from the experts here this weekend and iterated designs. So we just got some shots of that. We began with far too much visual information, especially thinking that somebody might not be able to read well. We looked at storyboards, cut a lot out, and then got to a point of having a really streamlined approach of choosing a language, an instruction video, through your questions, and to your final information. So, going forwards, we are looking at working with you, not in competition, because we want to improve accessibility to this advice. So our initial kind of development would be 1 or 2 full stack software engineers, a UX designer, because the UX is so important here, and also time taken from shelter, streetworks, government, etc. staff to get the information right. Given that, we would then apply for funding for a trial in a pilot area, looking at then cost of infrastructure, then a researcher to evaluate the impact. This would be expensive. We're thinking probably in the range of £150,000, but the costs of having poor housing information are much greater. Thank you.
And can I get Juan and Misha from Team Anorak, please, to the back of the room?
Hi, thank you very much for that. That was really interesting. I can see why that would be a really useful product, and I actually work as a relief worker down at Streetworks, so I can see why a lot of the service users down there would find that really helpful. There's a lot of different challenges with regards to housing that's very much very different in each local authority. So would you be developing this to be area specific, the information that you're giving out? Because it might be quite different in Edinburgh, for example, compared to Glasgow or wherever you are.
So some of our initial feedback was that we had gone into far too much detail. So like in the deposit case, we'd kind of gone down the road of, is it registered? Is it this? Is it that? And we got feedback that that was going to be unmanageable. So we have focused in this iteration at sort of triaging some of the main categories, giving them the information that you would find at shelter, which is quite general, and then looking to signpost people to the right services. It would be, a future consideration to look at specialization for local areas, but we are looking at kind of getting people to the right place with clarity about what the situation is first.
Great, thank you.
Hi there. Yeah, interesting product. I can certainly see the benefits of it. I'm just wondering if there's a possibility to, or have you considered the product in that you can maybe directly work with some of the external companies so that it would be connected directly into them, so you would be connecting them specifically to that actual company? Is that something that's been considered?
It has been, actually, because we've been speaking, especially with somebody from Streetworks on language terms, how if you get somebody that's, you can't speak a common language, how useful it could be to be able to look at the same thing, simultaneously on 2 screens and point to this, point to that. We did also have some discussion, would it be good to put something on here that's like, right, I want shelter to call me. And there were discussions about the amount of cause and impact that could potentially have, looking at adding this to an existing organisation. So yes, we've had a discussion. There's not really an answer for that.
Okay, great.
Hi, I really liked this idea, the essential idea of making information not just, this obviously is in the area of digital inclusion, which is a hot area right now. It's a very ambitious project, but I think that what you showed there is a very clear glimpse of what will be, whether it's an existing organisation such as Shelter and how they distribute their information, but also independent brands effectively looking to work at a macro scale, perhaps across different sectors. So I think that's a really interesting area that you're looking at there. One thing that didn't come through, perhaps I just missed it, but Who's going to pay for this?
Industry, we can have private pay first to like just fund it. But once we get the initial seed going, right, we'll have a researcher who can access the impact, and after that, we are hoping to get some public funding along the way to continue that, assuming that there is an impact, and we hope that there will be.
Okay, I would agree. I think most likely really for funding there is actually public funding. So I wish you well with that. It's a really, really interesting idea.
Thank you. I think this is great well, in the name of the group, I suppose, the sort of the inclusion aspect of this and reaching out to people who we know struggle to access advice in the way it's currently provided. I particularly liked, and just to flag that, I thought it was a good way of summing it up, the point you made about helping people to get clarity on their situation, because that's a problem that I know that our advice at Shelter, our advice providers, spend a lot of their time doing that, helping people to clarify and understand what their rights are and their situation are. So I just wanted to commend you on that, because I think it's a really strong area. My sort of challenging question, if you like, is in terms of this being a session that's looking at the private rented sector in particular, what drew you to this issue, this more general issue of inclusion and the way advice is provided to make people, get that clarity, and challenges in the private rented sector? Was there something that helped you zone in on that being a particular problem, connecting those two aspects?
Hold on, so you're saying...
So the principle, I really, really support the inclusive provision of advice, but what's your sense on the need for this in relation to the private rented sector?
So I have this from a couple of angles. One is that I work in a digital inclusion project with a housing association. The other is that I've been through trying to find somewhere to live in the private rented sector, actually looking at, Gumtree, Spare Room, seeing how precarious it is and thinking about some of the people that I work with and thinking they might struggle. And kind of seeing, having spoken to shelters, safe deposits, and finding that our case of Emma is really common. So kind of private sector, but helping people that might be at the less regulated end, but also all around.
Great, thank you very much.
And next we have Team Anorak.
Right, thank you. Okay, is this working? Nope. There. Okay, so thank you everyone. We're Team Anorak. This is Misha Kenboard. I'm Juan Hinzo. We both work as professional data scientists, so we wanted to do something that kind of relates to our work, but we give it a more social spin as well. So let me introduce to you Racket. It's an anti-tax evasion software for the shore-led market. So first, let's try to quantify kind of define what the shore-led market is, its growth in recent years, and also try to quantify it here in Edinburgh. So there's been a huge increase. We have there is a graph in terms of reviews in Airbnb that we're using as a proxy for the amount of listings and how they're increasing year by year. And you can see that there is a clear exponential growth in short-let listings here in Edinburgh. And this has a lot of pros. Definitely if you're a landlord in that market, you might be making a really good profit. But this also is causing some externalities. So it's crowding out properties of the long-term letting sector. That's decreasing affordability by pushing up prices. Then shorelets, it's making it easier to evade tax compared to hotels or long-term letting arrangements, and that also creates loss in terms of revenue that could have been poured back into social services and infrastructure. And it's also the case that the gig economy should be about sharing these underused assets, but we've seen a huge, actually in data, huge concentration of listings. So you have some veritable Airbnb empires. So you have some providers that have more than 80 listings, different properties, and there is a long tail of hosts that have at least 10 properties listed. So just to give you an idea of what it looks like in Edinburgh. So you can see the map there. In red you have multi-tenancy listings, and in green you have people that are just renting out one property. So you have more than 9,000 active listings. Almost 60% are entire properties. The occupancy rate is around 1/3, so this, in average, they're not fully occupied throughout the year. 40% of hosts list multiple properties, and there's, like I said, a long tail of hosts with more than 10 properties. So it's not necessarily our definition of gig economy at work. So how would you address these issues? So it's been kind of some policy and revenue changes coming in. Governments are looking to tax this, apart from kind of you need to declare your rental income, and you might be paying income tax on that. There are some Airbnb taxes coming in, some of them are already in places the US, for example, California, San Francisco specifically, but it's also becoming more of an issue, and it's definitely coming in Europe and UK in particular. And the main purpose here is to basically tax these shortlets, so you can fund public services and combat that gentrification and depopulation of these city centers. But if government is collecting these taxes, they need to be able to detect tax evasion, right? Which is easier to do in these kind of self-reported shortlet markets. And that's where Racket enters. So Racket, it's a predictive tool for the public sector. It's able to predict estimated annual rental income from properties and its discrepancy with the reported gross income by landlords. It uses machine learning, and it's fueled by publicly available data on Airbnb listings. So it allows to flag potential tax evasion cases and prioritize remediation actions. So this doesn't mean that it will be a fully automated process and it would send HMRC directly to you, but it's just a way of, in the context of low public spending and stretched services, of prioritizing which landlords you should be targeting for more information, at least, and give you a sense of how big that component of tax evasion could be. So how does it work? So Racket uses machine learning to detect patterns in historical Airbnb listings data. It's able then to predict revenue for existing and future properties. So governments can then compare Racket's predicted income for a property against the declared income by the host and look for wide discrepancies. It gives both an estimation of income and also a measure of the certainty of that prediction. Just to give you a very quick look through potential API, so you can input declared gross income, the characteristics of the property, and then use this to predict the expected income and get the discrepancies. Well, so what's the aim? If you can decrease tax evasion, you level the playing field against long-term rentals. You might create a fair market for good landlords to compete in, and you also increase social trust in communities by creating the perception and reality that everyone's paying their fair share. So in short, tax evasion detection tool for a shortlet market, powered by machine learning, simple to use, scalable, cost efficient for the public sector. Thank you. Questions?
And I think there's one more team. Can I get Vivek, Alex, Hazel, Kevin, and Sonali up from Team Rent Space to the back of the room?
Hi, thank you very much. That was very interesting, and I think the government might love you. You said just at the end there that if you decrease tax evasion, then you'll basically by putting more properties into the private rented market, so you'll be downscaling on the number of Airbnb properties. Have you got research that you've drawn on to back that up?
So
No, we haven't done any research to back that up. But the idea is that governments have as a tool policy to address these issues. But if policy cannot be enforced, or if it takes too many resources to enforce policy, then that line of approach is doomed to fail.
We haven't really quantified, but the idea is that you would be probably lowering shields on those marginal properties in which they are tax evading, but by kind of chasing them, you'll be kind of you'll have some properties going into long-term rental because they wouldn't be kind of bothered with the hassle.
They're too scared.
Yeah, exactly, or too scared as well, and that also kind of drives out bad landlords and creates a better playing field for good landlords, right? Because you're not out-competing them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks. I just, again, echo what Linda said. I think the government might love something like this, but perhaps less said. Can you just perhaps say a few words around scalability of the product and how long or how you would get the initial data from?
So we built a product of the machine learning model using data that was scraped from Airbnb listings, about 500,000 listings. And this is something that could be automated. This thing could be updated on a monthly or yearly basis. In terms of once the model is built, it could predict for a single property, for a single host, or for 10,000 or 100,000. So in terms of purely computation cost, it could scale really easily.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Hi, I thought that was a very clear and strong presentation relating to a real live and accelerating issue within major cities in Europe and around the world. So it's really good to see some eyes and energy on this issue. The idea of leveling the playing field between short-term lets and long-term lets, yep, we certainly need more of that. Going into the actual product itself, so if I've understood that correctly, this is really about putting, for want of a better way of expressing it, the good landlords to a degree under the microscope, because they're the ones actually declaring income in the first place. If I understood that correctly, this is a tool to look at the differential between what they've declared and what the machine learning tells the government or whatever the client what the real income probably would have been.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's about finding those discrepancies between declared and expected income from different properties. So there could be other issues why you would kind of under declare. Maybe you should actually use the property yourself, but it's more about prioritizing instead of completely automating the process.
So I know I'm supposed to just ask one question, but a quick one. So have you got any early feedback from any public or departmental body?
No, we haven't yet. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
we got some happy comments from the third sector.
Yes. Thank you very much.
As the token third sector guy here, I'd say yeah, probably would. Taking off, my question is despite my personal support for anything that tries to tackle tax evasion as a general rule of thumb, on what evidence, and this might build on Linda's question originally, on what evidence, particularly in the short-term letting market, did you zero in on this issue? So you've created this tool about quantifying or estimating and highlighting the discrepancy. But what sort of flagged that to you as an area to look at? What evidence do you think that that's currently a problem?
Yeah, so absolutely. I can't remember the exact numbers, and it's actually because of the lack of these tools. It's quite a hard problem to quantify. So what led us into it was to try to find a different perspective of what are the causes of problems in the long-term letting market, and one of them is the crowding out of properties into the short let. And so we think that short let is here to stay, but you need to level the playing field. And one main and if it's very easy to evade those taxes, then one of the main ways to address that is to try to chase people making that quick buck on the back of that. Yeah.
Just to add to that, for a bit of local color, both Juan and I come from Argentina, which for the past 20 years has been largely a cash economy, and we've seen firsthand how the government can be undermined and policy can be undercut by people who can just so easily skip out.
one last thing on that. When you start adding up the number of listings with the average price and average stay, the numbers go into at least dozens of millions, even for shows for Edinburgh. So even if there is a very small percentage of tax evasion going on, then this would already pay for itself quite easily. Yeah. Thank you.
And our final team is Rent Space with Reliability Rent.
Not surprisingly, 63% of tenants we surveyed on Google surveys yesterday said it was extremely important that a landlord is verified and reputable. More surprisingly, however, is the fact that 74% of landlords surveyed would actually be open and comfortable with being rated by tenants. Why is that? The problem is landlords are scared of uncertain market conditions, legislative changes, tenants leaving the property in a mess, poor agents, and rising costs. Landlords are bothered by petty complaints and missing or late rental payments. But landlords want tenants to have a great rental experience because this is the key to the happiness and peace of mind for both parties during a tenancy. Communication, responsiveness, and collaboration is what our platform brings, allowing tenants to rate landlords and landlords to rate tenants. Today, we're introducing reliability into Scotland's private rented sector, a platform to match reliable, responsive landlords with reliable, responsive tenants.
Thank you. As Kevin mentioned, we've been doing some research over the weekend, and what we found was that 60% of tenants reported they had communication issues with their landlord, and 85% reported that repairs were not being completed in a timely or satisfactory way. What they also told us was that the platforms that exist at the moment, like Gumtree and Spareroom for finding accommodation, don't provide them with the verification and the transparency which they demand. On the landlord side, we found that 63% have experienced problems with missing or late rental payments, and 68% have experienced tenants lodging unnecessary complaints. And that's with things like mildew or pests or noisy neighbours, which are actually the tenant's responsibility to resolve. They also reported a demand for up-to-date information on legislation and notifications when safety certificates and other checks are due. So as well as presenting a property search and matching tool, reliability includes great communication tools, including a toolkit which will notify both parties when legislation updates. It will include checklists and gas safety and PAT reminders for renewals. It will include automated production and processing of documents, inspections and notices to quit. And it will provide a bespoke issue reporting application which will measure the time to acknowledge a repair, agree a resolution that both parties are satisfied with. Rental payments would also be processed through the platform, which would allow us to measure whether tenants were paying the rent on time. The beating heart of what we do is to provide a rating tool. My slides cut off there, but what we wanted to explain here is that the bulk of that rating, 75% of that rating, will come from actual data which we measure on the app. So that's from quantitative data. And only 25% of that rating will come from recommendations, personal recommendation or opinion. So you see the areas of rating here are things like whether the full deposit's been returned, whether the tenant is paying the rent on time, and their history and references. Although we've got an exciting few years coming up ahead, automation, and we understand there would need to be a human element behind this application, and that would give users the opportunity to challenge negative reviews. and resolve issues which are out of the ordinary for both tenants and landlords, and the platform allows for this. So we're now going to show you what Alex and Vivek built with blood, sweat and tears from scratch over the weekend.
Let me show you how. The map here populates with available properties, indicating their price along with the rating with different colors. Now select a property and the listing will appear.
Listings will have all the information about the property, including photos, a map of the location, description, and reviews from past tenants. There is also a landlord profile with their ratings on various criteria, such as description accuracy, communication, and repairs. Clicking on the landlord will bring up their profile, which has details and ratings of all the properties that they manage.
Tenant also have their own profile with rating and rental history. If the tenant has moved in to the property, they can access tenant panel, where they can send a message to landlord, view important documents, report issues, view the house notice board. Also, they can rate their overall experience. Tenant will also able to see who else is staying there.
Brings us on nicely to our reliable team. We've got a great range of skills and experience to work from. Alex is a data scientist, Hazel's a digital analyst, Sonali is in marketing, Vivek has development skills, and I'm a property industry veteran. You see the market size? I think it speaks for itself. But you're probably wondering, how do we make money? It's very Airbnb-like, and that is that we take the rent passing through the platform via Stripe, ensuring super quick payments to landlords, less our 5% every month. Very soon, you'll be hearing what's your reliability rating in the pubs up and down the country, whether you're a landlord or a tenant. So if you're a landlord or a tenant, have a look at reliability today and find your next great rental experience here. Thank you.
Hi, thank you very much. That's very interesting. And it's a good product. I quite like it. What I was wondering, though, was, is there a way of building in the letting agent as well? Because you're essentially rating, perhaps, for example, a tenant might be rating a landlord on something that the letting agent is responsible for. So, for example, if it's with regards to moving in and how the moving in experience was, then you know, it could well be that actually they've used a letting agent and the landlord's completely removed from that.
I think this was originally built for the landlord and the tenants to connect directly, but further down the roadmap, I think we can allow letting agents to come in if that's what the users dictate.
Okay, thank you.
Hi there. Certainly a really interesting product, one that I think I've heard anecdotally spoken about for a number of years in the industry. I'm just curious, what sort of cost implications do you think there are in setup sort of costs?
We're all fairly fortunate. We've got jobs apart from Alex, so we would be able to do this for £1,000 to start with. The IT costs are minimal, and then it really is just a coder to start with, and flyers to the university unions, and then we can target the landlords through the private landlord registration database as well, and target them that way. So very, very minimal cost until we, lean startup, let's follow Eric Rees and do it that way.
Okay, that's great, thanks.
Hi, I enjoyed that presentation as well. Again, things may be moving in that direction. I think letting has been quite slow to go in that direction. It's quite interesting. I'm just wondering, I saw your research figures there. I can't remember the exact numbers, but a very high percentage of both landlords and tenants say that they are willing to be held to this kind of transparent new system. Was that independent research? And yeah, I mean, how many people were polled for that?
Yeah, Alex and Vivek were working on that with blood, sweat and tears over the weekend. Hazel and I were doing Google surveys of landlords independent that were put out with tweets with Shelter and all the other organisations in here, and they responded. So we had
19 landlords and 34 tenants, and yeah, they were distributed on Twitter. So.
Okay, have you done any prior research on this, or is this all just come up over the weekend? Yeah.
Well, I suppose we had our personal experience from most of our team as tenants and from Kevin's experience as being a landlord. So that was kind of the starting point.
Yeah. No, it's, as I say, the letting sector and indeed the property sector has been quite slow to adopt this consumer approach to listings. I'd be very interested to see how you get on with that project, to see if there's a reason why it's taken such a long time, whether there's resistance, particularly on the landlord side of things. But certainly, yeah, many markets have gone that direction, so I wish you luck.
Thank you very much. I also want to commend you all on a very slick presentation and display, and clearly a huge amount of work's gone into that over the weekend, so well done for that. I was going to, the pedant in me was going to also ask about the numbers in the survey, just as a point of principle, but the other main question that I had on your presentation was, in any sort of consumer rating system, there's always people who would, well, a very small number of people who would willfully seek to abuse that system if they've had a particularly bad experience and whatever, and they want to go on. So have you given any thought initially to how you would ensure that it's effectively, it's that bit that I'm looking at, the sort of landlord profile bit, how you would ensure that if the landlord said, well, that's not fair, that rating, you know, there's another side to that story, or how would you resolve those disputes, or at least create a forum for surfacing that?
Well, the hope is that because a personal recommendation only accounts for 25% of your rating, that one bad review wouldn't slam you down.
Yeah.
But like we mentioned, we would want people actually working behind the scenes on this app, so there was actually a person that you could contact to dispute issues like that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we're going to leave our judges for 10 minutes to deliberate. So if I could ask all the participants to head next door and drink the rest of the beer. That shouldn't be too hard. For the benefit of the live stream, we're going to play the highlight video again, and then we're going to cut to intervals while the judges are deliberating. So don't tune out. We'll be back in about 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
At Product Forge, we normally run hackathons on bigger, more broad topics such as health or tourism. But here this weekend, we wanted to tackle an issue that's more niche and specific: private renting.
Renting is becoming more long-term. To think you come out of college, buy a house, have a family. People don't live like that anymore.
We all rent, but we've never really thought about how technology can help us.
If you look at the policy, at the regulation, that's moved on a lot over the last 20 years. And management techniques, the way how landlords and tenants interact with each other are still the same. It's paper-based, it's phone-based.
There's something about social justice in this for me. A lot of times the private rented sector is not available to people who need it.
When you are a developer, you focus so much on the final product that you forget that someone else is going to use it. So it's interesting to know how what we are doing is useful.
I'm here to remind participants that there are people at the centre of things they're building. How would members of the public benefit from what's being built?
It's good to collaborate, speak to other people and just to hear about other people's ideas and not just be restricted to my own thinking.
So they're all coming at it from different angles, different approaches, all thinking about how data can actually be used effectively to help the sector. It's an exciting place to be.
There's thousands of people that are going to be in the private rented sector for most of their lives. Making people feel secure and happy in their home is a human right.
A bit. Are we using the same mic that's wired up to the speakers?
Yep.
This is all very confusing. Hello. Developed an app. It's dope. It's gonna solve all the problems. No. Hello. It's not even on. Are we live streaming right now? People are literally watching this. Alright. Hi everyone, this is Max from Product Forge. We're here at the Generation Rent Product Forge. Gonna catch up with some teams. Do I need to hot cold just my chin? MC style? Yeah. Is this a good shot? Do we need to move anywhere? Tell me why on earth you would choose to spend 72 hours plus of your life in this cave building amazing stuff.
Weekend actually. It's also about gaining skills that I previously didn't have. I had some experience with web development, but I'm on another level essentially. So if I do go when I go forward from here, it's always going to be like I learned something when I did the Product Forge hack.
And did you catch up with anyone that you were really impressed with this event? Who was like, that person is a...
And I've seen you guys before as well, but I was too busy focused on the work to actually do some stuff which is probably not the right thing to do, but the thing called for it, so I had to.
I think that shows commitment. It should be noted that I rocked up today at about 7:30 and this guy was napping on the couch, absolute slacker. Didn't even manage the full all-nighter. Unbelievable. So are you pretty happy with what you ended up with?
Yes. I wouldn't say 100%, but because we built another whole system, but because we only had, maybe 26 hours to actually build it, we couldn't deploy it properly. So we had this whole back system up, but maybe one more day, and we probably could have,
I personally hate it when I build a whole system in a day and then it doesn't deploy properly. Such a letdown. Unbelievable.
But yeah, it was amazing. I'm definitely doing this again. But yeah, so yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, Vivek. Thank you. Put it there. All right, should we find someone else? No. I'll find someone else, mate. Can you still hear me on the... Yeah?
And apologies.
Yeah.
Apologies to make your YouTube face.
Yeah, shut us down. Have you been injured in a... Quick chit chat on the mic. Throw down some lyrics. Do you want to throw down some lyrics, Lucy? We'll just do you want to go get Nemo? There's Nemo. It's an emergency. We're gonna look at that camera. I'm gonna get in amongst you as well. Ryan, unbelievable. Okay, so the Product Forge community in desperate need of some dark rap. Go. No, I'm kidding. Tell me, or tell everyone who's watching the live stream about your. Oh, we've got a crawler. We've got a crawler about your experience this weekend.
It was a really great experience. Met new people and built a cool thing.
For me, it was about learning how a business idea gets formed and processed, technological aspects into it, like forming one according to the other and going back and forth and iterating over it.
Do you have much experience with this kind of event?
No, this is my first hackathon.
In one word, how would you summarize your experience?
Exhilarating.
And how about yourself? How have you found the weekend?
Great. I think for me was about after doing the Code Your Future classes to learn how to apply that in a professional and real project.
I think we can all say that one of the most important learnings that we've taken from this event is the rules of the game of werewolf. Nemo in particular is a pretty aggressive werewolf player. Tell us a little bit about your werewolf experience, Nemo.
So I was playing the role of the little child, and the little child can peek, kill people, and I was accused one of the.
It was me, and he accused me, but we ended up killing you, so it's fine. We don't have time to explain. Just Google it and get on it. It's a lot of fun. Or come to a Product Forge. That's the only way to find out how to truly play a game of werewolf. All right, folks, hands in. Who are we doing? Should we do this? Team Info Inclusion. Woo! Let's go find some other people. Loiterers. Gender. Thing for you. Camera. This is one. And this is one Hervin. Yeah. It's just Hervin, and it's a individual person. Guys, tell us about your experience at Product Forge, Generation Rent Product Forge.
For me, it was fantastic. I had the best time ever. Time here and work with them together. Got a lot of years. It was really relaxing. Yeah, it was really fun, and also this is one of my best experience ever. Having a great time. Yeah. Is it? Does it work? It's working. Yeah. Okay, right. Okay. On the telephone, so
yeah. So for me, I'm really. I see. Very nice, and for me. Burger because this is very good opportunity for me, and also I learned so many things about for presentation, the projects, and working with home, and I'm really enjoy, and thank you very much.
I think these two guys are officially the two most smart people you've ever come up with, biggest fans, and one is also the most jumpy person I've ever met. Tell us a bit about your jumpiness, one.
Jumpy? Yeah, I don't know why it happened to me, but yeah, it's a kind of, I'm quite used to it. When somebody, jump up, ask me, and I feel like, wow, I don't know why it is.
Maybe it's just because you're so excited for being at
Maybe, but I'm just really happy, to be honest, and also having like this community and learning new things as well, and like presenting a project in front of so many people, and especially this tech area is new for me, but I really enjoy it. Yeah.
Say a little bit about Code Your Future. How good is Code Your Future?
Code Your Future is really good for me because joining the Code Your Future, I did a few online courses, and then I met with the founder or organizer Muzaffar, and then I planned to volunteer there at first before studying, and then he accepted me, and so I go there and try to volunteer, and also I got a chance to study there, so which is really good. And people, mentors there are really supportive, very helpful, and also we have a lot of help through the Slack. So when we study there every once a week, every Saturday, and in the weekdays we have a lot of homework to do, and also a lot of mentors, volunteers. They are really happy to help us through the Slacks. Whatever questions we have, we ask them, and they help us. They give us links and suggestions, and it really helps us to improve our coding skills, and also we feel like really welcome community, and also especially when seeing people from different background, like from different other countries, it's like really amazing, and we enjoy a lot of different food as well. It's a fantastic experience studying Code Your Future.
Herwin, Product Forge in one word. I'll give you time to think. It's got to be good. Yeah. That's good. Didn't hear that at home, but Jack, our videographer, just made a hilarious funny.
This is fantastic.
It's two. You've gone too many. A new one. Product Forge in one word.
That's a two only. Innovative and awesome.
Cool. Oh, it's been Juan and Hervin. Thanks, guys. Good work. Yeah. Ooh. Okay, I need to find some other people. Cut to a graphic. Okay, we're done. This is a live stream. This is going to send your following through the roof. We're talking millions of followers, probably. We're online right now. We're literally recording. All right, Product Forge viewers, fans. I'm here with Wojtek, the main man from Code Clan. Didn't even mean that to rhyme. That's incredible. Wojtek has kindly given up 2, maybe 3 days of his life to help out participants at Product Forge, Generation Rent Product Forge. Tell us a little bit about how your weekend's been, Wojtek.
Oh, it's been an amazing experience, really, to see all these people who came here with zero idea on the subject, really, and then, finish the weekend with such amazing little apps and websites. That's makes my heart grow, really,
Cool. And what's been like the main thing you've been saying to teams? What is the recurring thing that teams quite often missed out? And kind of, that's it. That's the question. Over to you.
I think that the main thing for me is the ability to tune in and to think about the user. It's quite easy to build a digital product, whether it's a website or an app. But prior to starting coding, actually, we should always think about the target market, whether there's a point in building this really, or how can we address the needs the best. And that's the tricky part, as we often have tools that allow us to be very creative. So I've seen teams just jumping on it and doing it basically, whereas thinking a little bit at the beginning usually helps the idea to emerge in some more refined form.
And for someone who's participating at a Product Forge, or someone who's just trying to come up with a good idea, what do you recommend for some exercises to think about the user experience and things like that?
I would just say observe what's happening around you, how people use digital products, digital apps, websites, and see what frustrates them. And also try and see the market. So if you like one app, look at the others and see what they offer, what yours doesn't offer. Generally, be aware, essentially, of what's around you and how people behave.
Cool. And you obviously spend a lot of time at Code Clan. You work at Code Clan. A couple of the participants at Generation Rent Product Forge were from Code Clan. Code Clan, what's going on there?
Well, Code Clan is a digital skills academy, so we teach people how to develop software, and we give them all kinds of digital skills, like research skills in user experience and design skills as well. It's a pretty interesting, small, very vibrant place. Lots of people running like headless chickens every day with laptops, and coding away. Pretty good fun.
And maybe quietly, what are some of the products, I should say, for over the weekend that you were most impressed with?
I think I really liked the last project, especially because of the research that was put into it. The one that dealt with ratings for landlords. And for the fun factor, I quite liked the apprenticeship project with John on it, and however, it was actually a pretty interesting business proposition as well. Actually, it's just astonishing. All projects were pretty good, which I have to say I'm surprised about, because some of these people have touched the subject for the first time in their life, and such amazing effect. That's just brilliant.
So a little bit on the Apprentice app. I know that they were kind of struggling in their pitch run-throughs, and the concept was a little bit up in the air, but it looked like they really reined it in at the last minute. And on the user experience topic that we've mentioned, it was really cool how they just focused so much on the user. So maybe mention a little bit about how you appreciated that as a presentation.
Well, absolutely. The focus they've put on the case is actually quite remarkable. In a way, I could have seen that it's something that is very close to them. So it's always a good thing when you see someone who's developing a product because they believe in it, So even for a certain lack of refinement or whatever, you can compensate with passion, and certainly at some stage that passion can be remade into a kind of working interest on a subject, so you can research better, so you can write better code. At the beginning, it's all you need, really, and having that is a huge asset, essentially, to the project.
Great. Well, you heard from the best man from Code Clan, at least from Product Forge's perspective. We'll see you next event. We'll invite someone else along, see if you can get a bit of healthy competition going on. But Wojtek,
thank you.
And I'm going to go find some. Jakob, I'm currently live streaming. I really can't talk about this right now. It's unbelievable. Jakob, I don't have time for this. That's people. Product Forge, Generation Rent Product Forge, in one word each. Make it count.
Sleepy.
Sleepy? Really? You're now sleepy. Maybe. Okay. Tiring to make you sleepy?
No, I'm not going to say the same thing again. Challenging.
It's Katie's turn.
Stressful. Yes, it stretches you. So
Gives you an opportunity to grow. Stretches you into a bigger person with more skills and stuff.
yes, just
You had a good time over the weekend?
yeah, I was very nervous being here, but I think I've been all right.
I was very nervous about coming, being the taller here. The tallest here.
That's very funny. Okay, well, it's been Vic Ramjit and Katie. Nice. And it's Jamie, the super lead mentor, unofficial lead mentor. Jamie, how are you feeling?
Very good about this. It's been very... yeah.
You look today.
That's because I've been working hard, man.
It's true, folks. He is one of the hardest working mentors that I've come across personally.
I even needed an afternoon nap to recover.
Exactly, it's absolute madness. Who else are we gonna? Kevin. He's trying to sneak away, but hasn't been very successful. Kevin, in one word, describe your Thursday. You weren't here on Thursday, so don't describe your Thursday in one word. Saturday. How was yesterday?
Exhilarating.
Okay, now follow it up with a few sentences.
I've never been involved in anything like this before. I've no coding experience. I was able to bring some property industry experience to the event, but the opportunity to meet guys in my team from different disciplines, data scientists, data analysts, digital analysts, marketers, coders, has just been fantastic for someone with who needs to understand as well how these people think. So from a business and entrepreneurial perspective, this was, I would recommend it to anyone, any startup, any business who's looking for coders. Come and be part of a hackathon.
Turn for that stellar recommendation. You've got Property Angel.
Property Angel is our startup. We connect potential buyers with potential sellers directly for free, which avoids time, money and hassle for both parties. We're just at the start of our journey. We're looking to raise £250,000 to grow our team and our disruptive marketplace, and we're pitching at EIE 18 on the 19th of April at McEwen Hall, Edinburgh. So come along and see us and support the other 60 tech entrepreneurs that are going to be pitching there as well.
Good. Yes. Yeah. All right, where are we going to go now? Everyone's in the room. Oh, really? All right, let's talk to these guys. I hope none of you mind being on camera, only being live streamed. What are your thoughts on Product Forge?
Well, it's a really amazing space where some brilliant ideas were created and constructed and built. I really love how everyone just worked to build something and and build it together, you know? So they weren't just stuck with the first idea that it came along with, but took feedback, took interesting information from mentors and experts, and then made something more. So I think we all learned something, both students and mentors, from each other, because we all come from different backgrounds, yeah.
So I should say that Arena turned up to this event thinking she was just going to do a little bit of mentoring, help out some of the and collared her on Friday afternoon, and we asked her if she would step into our lead mentor role, and she absolutely rocked it. So maybe could you tell the Product Forge community a little bit about your experience as lead mentor and just generally killing it?
Well, yeah, it was a surprise to be asked to do this. But then what was even more of a surprise is how I absolutely loved it. At first, I thought, okay, this is a great opportunity to do something I like, which is like helping people build their ideas and do something they're passionate about. But in the end, like the community is so good that the space was perfect for, being constructive, allowing thoughtful discussion. That I was just blown away. Yeah.
Great. Ryan, you're kind of just like a roving, inspiring, assisting entrepreneur. You just turn up and help.
No, not even that. Just poke everybody and annoy them, yeah. Yeah, and eat all your free food and beer. Very good. We're going to say something. Very good food and beer.
What are your thoughts on some of the projects presented this evening?
I was outside taking calls, but I'm sure they're great.
They were good. Take our word for it. Take our word for it. Okay. Well, thanks for coming along and keep inspiring people. Seriously. You do. Yeah. Okay, we're running out of people. This guy is funny. He's so naturally funny. Yeah, he was going like a friend. Say something funny. What do you hate about interviews?
I don't know.
Tell
us a little bit about your experience at Product Forge.
I loved it, and I'm so happy that they sponsored me. It was really nice.
A little bit about your experience of the game of Werewolf. Interview you. Absolutely, go for it.
Wow, okay. So did you like the game of the werewolf?
But every now and then you get a game where and you've got these kind of guys throwing around accusations in round one. For those people who don't know what werewolf is, this will be completely lost on them. He called I was in shock, and we did eventually prove it, so felt bad.
Why the Product Forge doesn't make other games? Like, why it's always coding? Why there is no much more fun stuff?
You want more fun stuff at a Product Forge?
Yes.
Okay, well we can take that down. Did you write that in your...
No, I forgot. I did.
Okay, well we'll take that down as official feedback for Witchcraft.
Actually, I wrote my name on the feedback, so...
Okay, we'll remember. More fun. I shouldn't say more fun at Product Forge, because the whole thing's fun. More hilarious, nonsensical fun, like the game of Werewolf. Maybe we were thinking about British Bulldog in Codebase. Yeah.
Why we didn't do it?
Probably incredibly dangerous and will result in loads of people being injured.
I have another suggestion. Why we don't force them to join our game? Because yesterday nobody joined. I'll take the first.
So actually, I will ask you a few questions because I know you're one of the Cody Future guys. So, how do you feel about this experience for the Cody Future guys in general?
This individual here.
guys.
Then Generation Rent Product Forge. We're going to cut now because Alan's got to say
Check.
Are you saying something? Are you sure? Managed to go and press the button? I'm not technical, I'm sorry, I don't know how to explain.
And the winner is. Particular thanks to all of our participants.
Do you want to use this microphone?
Let's use a working mic for this. I want to play a special thanks again to all of our participants who have been here for the last 3 days and 3 nights. Another round of applause, please. So, one of our traditions at Product Forge is to award some special prizes before we get into the less interesting prizes. So I'm going to start. We play a game called Werewolf. Every event we play a couple of rounds. It's a nice game to get people to break out of their groups, to meet some of the other participants. Normally it's kind of late on a Saturday night. I'm a bit tired. Sometimes maybe I'm not clear with the rules. One participant in particular was really unclear about his role in the event. Can I get Johan? Johan, who thinks he's a werewolf, but he is not. Definitely not a werewolf. I have to say, so one of the characters in the game has to give a clue as to who the werewolves are, and someone came up with, I have to say, probably the best, most insightful clue I've ever seen anyone deliver in a game of werewolf, and nobody got it. So can I get Ian up? The clue of the century. Normally, I try to avoid this particular weekend because the clocks go forward. We try to do the weekend where the clocks go back so everyone gets another hour in bed. There was a couple of folk, I don't think that their alarm clocks automatically updated. Can I get Juan and Maitchef from Anorak? So you can permanently set these on the leap forward time. So next year, you'll know when to turn up. Cheers. Events like these are not possible without all of the effort that's put in by our mentors. So our lead mentor this weekend was Ian. Can I get Ian up? And our deputy lead mentor who stepped in at the last minute, Irina, please come up. Thank you so much. And can I get all of the other mentors to stand up, and can we give them a round of applause? So mentors who are here, even from their sponsoring companies, are not getting paid extra to be here at Product Forge. They're putting in extra hours and staying often very late into the night to support our team. So thank you so much. We've had a few participants who have come back time and again, and they are influenced by the Product Forge experience, I hope, for the better. Some of them I'm not so sure for the better. One of our participants said that the first time he'd ever been introduced to Pro Plus was at Product Forge, and now he was kind of addicted to it. Can I get Vikram up? So we have some nice pucker detox tea for you to wind down after the weekend's Product Forge. One of the things that always makes running the events a bit more complicated is the amount of tech and AV and everything that's going on. Jakob always records an amazing highlights video, so I don't have to talk and drone on about how amazing the event is. You can just see it. One of the frustrating things, though, recording a video when someone looks at the camera. And we've got someone in here who just has a special knack for constantly looking at the camera. So, Adelina, I think what you really want here is a selfie stick. The event often runs 24 hours, and can I get the overnighters over here who slept in the venue overnight? There are 4 of you. So we have some nice comfy socks, some fox socks for everyone. There we go, and some night masks. There we go. And Vikram, don't sit down yet, because apparently it's a prize bonanza for Vikram tonight. Can I get everyone who's been to a Product Forge up to the front before? Not everyone who's been ever to a Product Forge, 'cause that was today, but everyone who's been to Product Forge in the past up to the front. Try as we might, we can't get rid of you. So thank you very much. A boomerang to the Product Forge alumni. And last but not least, I had a bit of a shock earlier. A friend of mine who is working for one of the sponsoring organizations, he walked in, and I literally didn't recognize him. Keith, where's Keith? Keith has had a pretty dramatic makeover this weekend. Keith has a lot of hair normally, and he's lost it all. And I'm a bit worried that he might have lost his mojo. So, Keith, just in case you're regretting that haircut, you have to put it on. Thanks, Keith. A huge thanks to all of our mentors, all of our speakers, and all of our sponsors. I want to make a special mention to our data providers. I was told to thank the Scottish Government. Thank you, Scottish Government. Well, seriously, thank you, Scottish Government, for all you do around open data. But thank you to the National Records of Scotland and CityLets 2 for the data that's been opened up this weekend. Wolfram, XYZ, and Cobase for the venue. And a big thank you to Shelter Scotland and Safe Deposit Scotland for sponsoring for this event. I think that's it. Is there anything else I need to cover tonight? It is a cliche to say that it was a tough decision for the winners. And it's such a cliche that it's a cliche that I always say. It's a cliche. So I'm often not quite sure what to say in this situation, but having being worked through a number of events, I can see how difficult it was, particularly tonight, to reach a conclusion as to the winning team. Now, there can only be one winner, and I don't take this too much to heart. We're trying to second guess what is going to work in the marketplace, and we're not necessarily the experts. You guys come to this event as entrepreneurs, as developers, because you see the world differently. So this is a hint, but don't take it too much to heart. I want to make a special mention to one team. I want to make a special mention to Rent Space. So we had a number of teams who were shortlisted. You were one. So I don't know what to do except say you mentioned, especially from me. So thank you very much. And now I am going to hand over to our mentors to announce the winner of the Generation Rent Product Forge.
Right, this is the bit where I make myself even more highly unpopular with most of the people in the room. But listen, before we get to, I believe I'm going to announce a runner-up as well, and then the winner. Can I just stress that we have judged these pitches today based on the criteria that were presented to us. In other words, who answered the exam questions more closely. It doesn't necessarily mean that the ideas that haven't made it to the top two aren't ideas that are business worthy, and my advice would be to go and market test your idea. Don't listen to us, go and have a look at the market, go and talk to them, find out whether or not you actually have a product before you spend lots of time and energy pursuing it. Can't stress enough that this is how we've approached coming to our decision. Cliches are cliches because they happen so often, and it really was the case that there was, I think there was only 1 point between the runner-up and the second and the winner. So without too much further ado, can I just say that a huge thank you to the mentors who have put in considerably more work than us fly-by-night judges who turn up for a few hours. So just a big thank you to the mentors and obviously to all the participants and to Product Forge. I think it's a fantastic event, and I really wish this kind of thing was around in 1999 when we got started. So without further ado, the runner-up, I believe, was Happy Rentals. I think we were particularly impressed with the visuals that were presented with the in such a short space of time. I mean, it actually looked like a finished app, so a fantastic effort on that score, and we thought it was very innovative evolution of the app, of the inventory app sector. So please, good luck with that, and certainly have a look at the market and see what they say. But absolutely fantastic. Thank you. As regards to the winner, we felt that this pitch was most closely aligned with the criteria around which we were asked to judge. In addition, we also went for this idea in the end because we think that it's looking to move into a space that is yet untapped, and we also think that there's a potential customer base within the corporate and public sector. So the winner of the 2018 Product Forge, Generation Rent Product Forge, is Info Inclusion.
Thank you very much. I sometimes do the slightly awkward thing. Do you have any comments? It's been fun. Nemo says it's been fun. Honestly, everyone who's developed an idea this weekend, you should speak to the sponsors, you should speak to the mentors, and consider if you want to take forward or how you want to take things forward. We do this to introduce a competitive element into the event, and it is so important that you guys come to this and take it as seriously as you possibly can in order to get the best out of you this weekend, which is what we do. So thank you so much to everyone who's put in so much time and effort this weekend. And there's just two things left to do. First of all, we take a team photo, and then we go to the pub. So can I get everyone up for the team photo? Everyone. Everyone to the front. Everyone. The whole thing, the whole lot. You
Get that beer up there.
Everyone say, Safe Deposit Scotland!
Safe Deposit Scotland!
Wait until he's
And big smiles. 3, 2, 1. Safe Deposit Scotland!
One more time.
Shout at Jacob.
When it's Grove for the win.
3, 2, 1.
Cheese.
And we have a winner.
Can the winning team stay at the front for our team photo as well?
So we have booked upstairs in Dragonfly or Westport, so if you'd like to join us for a drink, please do.
Welcome, guys.